Hello there. We're going to spend the next, 55 minutes or a portion thereof together. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani, and this is the program where you take it and you run with it, and you share with us your life experiences, your insights, your wisdom. In other words, your takes. That's why we call it Take Two. We want to know what you think about a little idea, a little subject that we put out there for a conversation starter each day. So good to be with all of you, and we look forward to hearing from you. And Debbie, a blessed day to you as well.
Thank you. I thought you were going to lead off with an alarm ringing and then you were going to hit the snooze button. I thought you were going to be funny like that because that's the topic for today.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I've been pondering this a lot in the last couple days, as you and I both do, heading into every show that we do, and we'll share our own experiences. I've kind of gone back and forth on this, eagerness to get up in the morning question, but this should be interesting to hear what our listeners have to say.
Yeah, we titled the show, Do You Hit the Snooze Button a Lot? Think about that for a moment. Now, we used to have those, I remember the old wind-up alarm clocks. You remember that, Jerry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they used to ring, and then they came out with the musical alarm clocks, and now we have the alarms on our phones. And I have to tell you, sometimes the ring on those is just annoying. So it's very easy to hit the snooze button on that or the dismiss button on the phones. But do you do that, Take Two family? Do you hit the snooze button, once, twice, maybe several times, and you find yourself after hitting it maybe, 2 or 3 times, you say, okay, it's time for me to get up. I gotta get out of bed. You kind of a little sluggish like that. Or maybe you're one of those, extraordinary people that just jump out of bed, your feet hit the ground and you're off and running because you want to seize the day, You don't want to be thinking about what can happen tomorrow in the future. You're just going to make the most of that day. Which category do you fall into? That's what we want to talk about. And you'll see how this definitely relates to our spirituality. Here's the number, 1-800-585-9396. Are you a snoozer? Or do you get up really spry and just jump out of bed? We want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. How about you, Jerry? Be honest.
Well, I'll tell you what. Right now, I don't need my alarm. Or I set it every morning because obviously I don't want to miss the show. But I'm awake well before my alarm, and which is really kind of nice because that gives me time actually to do a little praying. And I actually just lay in bed for a while. I mean, I could bounce right up, and there's nothing keeping me from doing that. But I just sometimes I just really will just lay there and say, God, I'm grateful to you for the gift of a roof over my head and a bed to lay my head on, and just enjoy the peace and quiet for another couple minutes. But yeah, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm pretty much up before the alarm goes off anyway.
Really? Wow. Is that due to the paleo diet because you have such a clean diet that you're on?
It could be, yeah, or maybe because I just go to bed so early. I'm at that age where it's like 8, 9 o'clock roll around, and I'm thinking, what am I still doing not in bed?
Oh, okay, got you. So you go to bed early. Well, actually, Jerry, that's interesting because there's many techniques online to break the habit of hitting the snooze button. And one of them is to go to bed earlier because you do need that sleep. And did you know this, Jerry? I just found this out in the research that I did, that when you hit the snooze button, it actually disrupts your sleep, your REM sleep, which we all need. And it's not really good for our health. I didn't know that. I used to think, it's like 5 or 10 more minutes of rest, but it really, hitting the snooze button is just a psychological crutch and one of those guilty pleasures we all fall into, and it's really not healthy for us. So that's interesting. That's good that you don't use an alarm. I used to ask my guardian angel to wake me up. Have you ever done that?
Oh, definitely.
Has it worked?
Yeah. And I won't sit here and say I've never used. In fact, there were periods in my life, Debbie, when I did exactly what you were just talking about. I would set what I would do is I would set the alarm for, way before I had to get up. And this psychological thinking that, wow, I'm getting a little extra rest. And I would hit the snooze 3 or 4 or 5 times until finally I had to get up. I'm a real back timer when it comes in the morning. I think to myself, okay, I have this commitment at this particular time, right, and it's going to take me this long to get ready and to get there, and it's going to take me this long to eat, and it's going to take me this long to, shower and get dressed. So I kind of like do the pinpoint precision timing of when I get up, but like I said, nowadays it's, it's just a little bit, I'm just in a little different phase in my life, but.
Right. Right. Well, and we also want to weave this into our spirituality. So here's the thing. I mean, we've got so many days on this earth, and then the good Lord calls us home. Are we excited to start each day? I mean, we have a lot to do. There's a lot of souls to touch. There's a lot for us to do. There's chances for us to be Christ in the world. So many wonderful opportunities to be a Christian witness. So are we excited about starting the day? And maybe others are watching us. You know, if we're dragging ourselves out of bed, they're going to think, wow, I don't know if I want to be a Christian. They don't look too happy in the morning. Are you a joyful Christian in the morning? We want to talk about that as well. Here's the number, 1-800-585-9396. Jerry, there's so many angles we can go with this, and I'm excited to see where our Take Two family is going to take this show.
That's right. You are the ones who take it and run with it. And Debbie and I, we learn. Debbie takes copious notes, which she comes back around to and shares them with me on a regular basis. So we learn from you, and there are your fellow listeners tuned in right now. We're going to hear your take on this, your eagerness or maybe a little hesitation to get up in the morning, and what you do to really kind of change that mindset. 800-585-9396.
Father John Riccardo.
When you and I wake up every day, do we strive to know Jesus or not? Quick question to you and me right now. Is that what you and I are doing every single day?
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
EWTN's National Catholic Register is America's most trusted Catholic news source. Try 6 free issues with our compliments. If you like it, you can subscribe later at a 35% savings off the newsstand price. Visit ncregister.com today.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
So this is the last thing that Paul writes to his son Timothy. And now what happens when the Holy Spirit comes upon somebody, which is the key about what it is to be a man, is a man who's someone who's surrendered to the Spirit of God. And so here he comes. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. For this reason, I remind you to stir into flame the gift of God bestowed upon you when my hands were laid upon you. And so this is the gift of the Holy Spirit. So this is what the Spirit makes us, gentlemen. The Spirit that God has given us is no cowardly spirit, but one that makes us strong, loving, and wise. So what it is to be a man that's filled with the Spirit of God is a man who's strong, not a wimp, who's loving, gives away his life, and is wise. And the one who gives us the greatest example of that is who? Jesus, of course.
Third Millennium Media presents Debbie Georgianni.
The world tells us not to be merciful, and we as Catholic Christians are called to take a step back and look at it in a different way. We must practice mercy, especially if we want to receive mercy.
Debbie Georgianni, co-host of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, wants to visit your parish, retreat, or conference. Invite Debbie Georgianni today online at thirdmillenniummedia.com.
Going to your phone calls here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Just have to mention very, very quickly that we had the Walk for Life last week, coverage, wall-to-wall coverage by EWTN Radio and Television. And this week is the Walk for Life West Coast. And that will be broadcast live from San Francisco starting Saturday, January 27th. And that will be at 2:30 p.m. on EWTN TV and radio. So mark your calendars for that and watch this. We get, Debbie, we get inspired. Mm-hmm. Even we may not live anywhere near San Francisco or Washington, D.C. or where these other marches take place, but with EWTN bringing these into our living rooms and into our radios and so forth, we can actually kind of place ourselves there and spiritually help support the unborn and those vulnerable.
Absolutely. That's why I love the coverage, radio and television, that EWTN does. Is that 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, I believe? And is that so that would be
Eastern.
11:30 your time, Jerry, Pacific time, correct?
Right, yep.
Okay, 12:30 Arizona time. You know, we never change our clocks. Talking about clocks today. Okay, Carolyn, you're first up. You got our First Up Award in Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Carolyn. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good morning. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful topic. So, I always set my alarm for 10 minutes before I need to get up because I'm one of those people that like to slowly come into the morning. But the first thing I do, my alarm goes off at 5:20, and I do a wake-up body check because I suffer from insomnia. So there are some days that I actually have to hit dismiss. But most days, I'm on the phone at 5:30 in the morning with a group of people doing a daily meditation and reading scripture and reflecting on all of that. And I absolutely love to start my day like that. There is absolutely nothing like it. And then after that, I do a rosary with another group of friends. And it's just so beautiful to be in that position. But once in a while, I have those days that I just have to stay where I am and stay in bed sleeping. But that doesn't mean that my day's not going to start a little later doing the same thing, but without the same group of people.
Yeah. Well, Carolyn, I love two things about what you shared. One, you give yourself a little bit of a break once in a while, and I think that's important. We're not talking here about slavishly, being rigid about this, and if we have to, like you said, to get a little bit of extra rest or something, especially if you have insomnia or something like that, any kind of a reason that would, require you to get a little bit of extra rest. So I really love that about what you shared, but also you have that purpose, that beautiful prayerful meditation and prayer time to look forward to, getting up every morning. And Debbie, I think that might be one of the keys to the conversation here, is if we go to bed at night with this thought, I got to get up and go to work again tomorrow, and I got to get the kids here, and I got to,
Right.
But instead, if like Carolyn goes to bed at night thinking, I get to get up and I get to join my friends in prayer.
Yes.
It's a purposeful, reason for setting that alarm.
Absolutely, Carolyn. I love your regimen. I think it's wonderful. The thing, we learned from the research we did that it's for our health and our sleep, it's not good to hit the snooze button. It doesn't do us any benefit. But if you hit the snooze button and in that time period, you're already meditating, contemplating, and prayerfully focusing on God, well, then that's a very useful time because that's the first thoughts when you wake up. And I think that's wonderful. I also love how you said, you kind of do an overall body check just to see how you're feeling and how you're doing. And I think that's very healthy because we want to be the best we can be. And let's face it, okay? Satan attacks us more when we are tired, when we're grumpy, when we're just at that weak point. So we do want to get out of bed refreshed with a good night's sleep. And so, Carolyn, I really love that. Did we kind of summarize what your prayerful kind of routine is?
Absolutely. And I can't even begin to imagine, years ago I used to think that had never happened to me. And today I can't imagine my life without it.
Good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, Carolyn. Thank you so much for calling. Have a fantastic, beautiful, and blessed day. And I agree, Debbie, what she said there at the end. We go through these periods, these phases. I have definitely had times in my life when I dreaded getting out of bed. I've had times when I had jobs when I couldn't wait. I felt so blessed to get up and go to work because I absolutely loved what I do, and I do right now. So I think it's maybe important to also realize that, this isn't going to maybe be the same sort of mentality and approach day to day throughout our entire lives. It might alter a little bit.
I just got word from through Facebook, that another classmate of mine, 52 years old, has passed away. This past year, we've lost quite a few in my peer group. And it really starts to sink in, Jerry, that time is limited. We only have so much time on this earth, and we really need to make the most of it. And it really kind of hits home. And I think each day is very important when we start with that mindset that we really have to make the most of the day right in front of us. And so if we come out with that disposition, I think we can oftentimes have a better day. Well, let's see what Tom has to say in Cleveland, Ohio, listening on the Rock. Hi, Tom. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Tom.
Hi. We have both types of people in my household. I get up. When I wake up, I get up, and then I do something. That was a saying of my wife's grandmother, and I get up early, but I go to bed early. My wife has 3 alarms. I am the 3rd alarm. The first thing that I do when I get up, though, is I get a cup of coffee. After my coffee, then I sit down with Magnificat and my devotions, and I start the day that way. I'm up a little bit earlier, after I finish, that's about the time when it's time for my wife's third alarm, which is me with my cup of coffee. And then she gets up, has her coffee, and does her devotion. So I guess we have both, and it works well for both of us a little bit differently, though.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you said that, Tom, about the cup of coffee, because one of the things that I learned when I was researching this topic is that if you set your coffee maker to go off as an alarm, the smell of the brewing coffee actually is a very good way to wake up. It actually promotes the person to wake up because of that caffeine and everything, and so it's really, that's kind of interesting. But when you were saying about the Magnificat, again, to give your first thoughts, to give what's really fresh in your minds after you've had a good night's sleep. And you said you go to bed early, you rise early. So it sounds like you get a good night's sleep, hopefully. And that's wonderful. When you're giving that first effort to God, you just have to imagine that God delights in that, because you're not waiting for the quote unquote right time. You're giving the very first of what you have, that burst of energy. What do you think, Jerry? I really like our early morning prayer.
Well, I do too. And Tom, I was curious, if you don't mind my asking, are you in the working world? I mean, do you do all of this before, prior to departing for your workday?
No,
or
I am retired, Jerry.
Okay.
My wife is still working. But either way, I think you have to, as Debbie was saying, you have to prepare yourself for the day, because you are assaulted. I am out in the world and I'm doing many things, and we are assaulted by so many things during the day that if you don't focus on the Lord immediately, you are not prepared.
yeah,
Doing
and
something or just staying at home.
yeah. Well, exactly, Tom. And really, in either case, I think it's beautiful what you do, because if you were still in the working world and you were disciplined enough to get up and take that time for prayer before doing that, which a lot of people don't do, and I think it's a beautiful way to start the day, that would be very noble and admirable. But the fact that you're retired and you've got every excuse if you want to sleep until noon and you still get up early and do that. So, Debbie, I think in either scenario, this shows a real discipline on Tom's part, and one that has got to be very pleasing to the Lord.
Oh, I agree. And also, Tom, that kind of makes sense, because if your wife is still working outside of the home, well, sometimes it does, you do hit that snooze button just to get an extra 5 or 10 minutes before you have to start your workday. So that's very understandable. But I really appreciate you sharing your routines with us, because I think it helps us. And actually, at the end of the show, Jerry, I just came up a challenge for everybody for Lent. So I'm gonna wait and build a little suspense till the end of the show, but a challenge for all of us. I think it could be quite interesting. So here's the number if you want to jump in and share your take. Thanks again, Tom, and tell your wife we said hello as well.
God bless you guys.
Bless you, Tom. Have a great day.
Thank
Pray
you.
for us.
Yes. Please pray for us. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to call if you want to share your take on this and what your routine is. We really want to hear, do you hit the snooze button 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 times? I think it's possible you can do it that many times. Eventually, my alarm you can't hit the snooze anymore.
It stops coming on after.
And
so you've actually done it enough times to figure that out, huh?
I did, and I've overslept, and I've missed stuff, so I don't do that anymore. I think the panic sets in. Or do you jump out of bed? You don't need to hit the snooze button. As soon as that alarm goes up, you feel very rested, you stretch, you jump out of bed, and you seize the day. That's what we want to hear about today. So tell us your routines, kind of let us into your daily practices, because we learn from you. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, Debbie, you and I have a colleague, Nick Scott, who I don't think he ever sets an alarm, and he's up at about 5:30 every morning, and and he's very disciplined in that way, and like others have shared, he has that coffee and that prayer time, and I think it's just a beautiful way to start the day. So we're going to go to Elizabeth. Mike is on the line. I hope that's Mike who called a few minutes ago and dropped off. We had a Mike who talked about being a little bit depressed in the morning, so if that is not him.
That Mike was from Rochester, New York. So if you're Mike, if you're listening, please call back. We'll get you to the front of the line. Okay? Yeah, that was.
All right. But Elizabeth, in Kenosha, Wisconsin is next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hello. I've listened to it many times, but I have not had the courage to call you.
Well, we're glad you did today. Welcome.
I'm a 90-year-old widow who lives in assisted living, and I'm impaired vision, so I can't watch television. So I depend on your radio programs very much, and your program is number one on my list.
Oh, bless you.
And my idea of the snooze button is that years ago I read in my Conversation with God's book about you should decide early on what kinds of penance you could do during the day, little things that you could do for penance. And one of them was get up immediately when your alarm goes off. And so I have practiced that for quite a few years and find it very successful in getting up at 6 a.m., getting up immediately when the alarm goes off.
I love that.
I do as
there's
well.
a very
That's a good challenge.
strong tie-in to the spiritual aspect of this, Debbie.
Yeah, that is amazing. Elizabeth, I have to share something with you. I know you must be very proud to live 90 years, but you would never guess that by the sound of your voice. You have about a 60-year-old voice. You know that, right? Do people tell you that all the time, Elizabeth?
Well, no, but thank you very much.
Beautiful. Wow. That is, see how it ties in. See how it managed. We introduce these topics, and then the wise wisdom of callers like Elizabeth from the Take Two family come in with these really great catechetical tools for all of us to live by. Elizabeth, you're awesome. We just bless you. Thank you so much for having the courage. Let me ask you this, Elizabeth. Would you ever call back again?
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So, Elizabeth, just real quickly, you still set an alarm, or do you find yourself just naturally waking up around the same time every morning?
No, I have an alarm set. Goes off every morning at 6 o'clock.
Good. Well, it sounds like you
Because
sleep
we
well
have
at night then.
Well, I don't always sleep well, but that doesn't matter. I get up when the alarm goes off.
Right.
Because you see, my day is such. If I don't sleep well, I can always catch a snooze during the day.
Yeah.
But we have to be at breakfast at 8 o'clock, and that's why I get up at 6.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, if you're comfortable letting us know your late husband's name, we keep a list of people that we pray for, living or deceased, and we'll certainly add you, Elizabeth, and we would love to have the honor of praying for your husband if you would impart his first name to us.
Yes, James.
James. Okay.
James. Okay, James and Elizabeth. We've got you in the book, Elizabeth. Elizabeth.
I also have
Okay.
I have a prayer request for you. Do I give it to you now?
Sure.
You sure can. Yeah.
Well, I have a granddaughter who has 3 sons who have a genetic disease, and that's Atkins disease, and they have to have bone marrow transfers, and so one of them has gone through it now, but she has no help. She's a single mother, and she's in a Ronald McDonald house out in Seattle, and she really is. Her nerves are just shot, just about. She needs lots of help, and so do the children. And that's what I need help for.
Yeah,
And
that's
her name
tough.
is Cassandra.
Okay. Well, Elizabeth, God bless you for putting that out there for us and allowing us to pray for that and being such a caring grandmother to all of them. And yeah, it's got to be weighing on you, Elizabeth. And as she said, Debbie, certainly Cassandra is probably about feeling at the end of a rope right about now. So let's all just rally around Cassandra with our prayers here this morning and this afternoon.
You can count on the prayers, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and call anytime. We'll make sure we'll have Rich make sure he bumps you up so you don't have to wait too long. Thank you, Elizabeth. Wow. Jerry, I just have to say, what I love about the Take Two family is we definitely do believe in the power of prayer. Absolutely. And so when you leave your prayer intentions with us, we take them to heart, and we definitely pray. As a matter of fact, and this is not to boast or anything, but my husband and I are in the middle of Lady Undoer of Knots Novena. And one of the intentions is for the Take Two family intentions. So I'm sure our Blessed Mother and the good Lord will allow me to add on to Elizabeth's family, Cassandra, and the entire family. So it's wonderful that we are dedicated to prayer.
Yeah, and you are always welcome to reach out. If you go to jerryanddebbie.com, we have a prayer wall that we call it there, and you can post any prayer intention that you want. And what I love about it is that Debbie and I, in as timely a manner as possible, we try and put a personal reply on there and assure you of our prayers. But we also have, I love it, Debbie, when other users of the prayer wall will jump on and say to each other, hey, I'm praying for you. And you can also email. If you ever have a prayer intention or anything, Debbie and I are not particularly holy or overly spiritual or anything, but like Debbie said, said, we believe in the power of prayer. It changes things. It works. And when we ask you for our prayers for us and for this radio show, it's not just an empty statement or a trite request or something. Debbie and I count on you in your prayers, and you can be assured of ours. I know, like me, Debbie, you probably wake up during the night, and first thing I do is I start praying, and I include in those prayers the Take Two family and all of that. So
Yep, I do
you can
as
email
well.
us take2 at EWTN.com, and we'll certainly we'll reply to you there too, because we just love the interaction with you.
I think it's so cool how when we reply right away, we get emails back going, "It's really you. You replied."
I can't believe you got back to me so fast.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. 1-800-585-9396. We're going to go to Faustina. I love your name, Faustina. You're next in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We're talking about what is our disposition, our attitude, getting up in the morning, starting the day, getting the motor going. Let us hear your take next.
Peggy Normandin. I was really pretty vain in my mid-20s. I was consumed with all those, superficial trappings in life. Well, during this time, I had a dream where my grandmother appeared to me. She was a very loving, plain, modest woman of great faith. Well, in the dream, she was absolutely radiant. And she said, "This is what I look like now. Everything is perfect in heaven, Peggy. This is all that matters." What a powerful spiritual wake-up call that was.
Call Me Catholic with Peggy Normandin. Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
I know Carmelite nuns who get a call from their Mother Superior every June telling them where they're going to be assigned in the year ahead. And even if they know they're probably not going to be transferred, before that call, they're supposed to pack up all their belongings and wait for the phone to ring. It's an exercise in detachment from the world. We all go through that in our own ways, don't we? Maybe sometimes, something becomes unstable in our current jobs, or a new opportunity opens up, or we have a financial crash that forces us to rebudget everything, or we go on a job interview, or maybe get a call from a doctor with some disturbing news. Even if those experiences don't pan out to be anything, and they usually don't overlook their importance. That's God reminding us that, in the end, this world isn't our home. And if you get too attached to the little comforts you surround yourself with, you won't be available to God's grace and His call in your life. Stay open. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
You remember the time I said on the air, go to confession. And when you're done, go out and have a big ice cream soda. Celebrate. And a man wrote to me, he says, I hadn't gone to confession in 30 years. Do you mind if I went and had a pizza? I said, have 20 pizzas.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
We're talking today on Take Two about if you hit the snooze button or do you jump out of bed. That's what we want to know today, because it does relate to your spirituality. It already has. We've taken notes on it, so we've learned something. Jerry promised we're going to go right to Faustina in Gaithersburg, Maryland, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. So here we go. Take it away, Faustina. What's your take on this?
Praise the Lord. I love to wake up early in the morning, but I tell myself in the night that I will wake up early in the morning to give praise and thanks to the Lord. And that helps me. I kind of have to stay up late till like 11 p.m. before I go to bed. So I do keep the alarm. But what I learned was, I think yesterday, that somebody said that when they wake up, they move out of the bed. And that has helped me, because sometimes I kind of will doze off, even though I wake up. I make my bed, and I'll sit on my bed and start my prayers, morning offering, consecration to the Sacred Heart and the Blessed Mother, and serenity prayer. I know that my day goes well when I start with prayer. So, and I want to encourage other people to start the day with prayer. And I want to pray for people that go to bed watching TV and dropping off to sleep with the TV on, and waking up in the morning, the TV is on, and, there's no prayer life. I want to pray for those people.
Right. Yeah, Faustina, two things that you said. One right there, I would say that's a fantastic point, because what are we putting into our minds and hearts as we prepare to end our night and go to sleep and have that time when hopefully, we're asleep, but still the Lord can be communicating with us. Maybe we have dreams or whatever. And those things can all be affected greatly, by the things, whatever it is that we're putting into our minds late at night, the very last thing before we go to bed. But also, Debbie, I'm reminded of the biblical concept of giving God the first fruits and the starting our day. So many of our callers here today have said that the reason, the motivation that gets them to jump out of bed the first thing in the morning right away is because they want to have that time with God and give their hearts to Him the very first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you put out you were encouraging folks to start with prayer, Faustina. So I'm going to go ahead and tail on that and just issue the challenge. I thought of this idea because I do hit the snooze button. So how about we do this for Lent? Okay, Lent starting soon. All right. Why don't we all, if you hit the snooze button, as soon as you hit that snooze button, say a decade of the Rosary. Would that work, Faustina? If we all started saying the decade of the Rosary instead of rolling back over and putting the pillow on our head, right?
Yes.
You like that?
Debbie.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Then let's do it. I'll take it on. Jerry, you don't really hit the snooze button, but if you do, you'll do that, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't hit the snooze button, but because I go to sleep late, though I wake up early, 5 o'clock, I keep the alarm. And, but I tend to drop off to sleep as I'm praying. Right. And so one thing that has helped me is I must move out of my bed.
Right.
Well, that's another technique. Faustina, that's another technique that I learned online. They said if you actually physically get out of bed to shut off the alarm or to, you move the alarm to the other side of the room, then once you're up and moving, it's much harder to go back and and take that 5 or 10 minute snooze. So Faustina, we love your name. We could just keep saying it over and over again. So you're named after a great saint. And thank you so much for that wisdom that you imparted to us today.
Thanks, Faustina. We appreciate your call. I was also thinking earlier of the passage, I think it's in the book of Lamentations, where it says something about God's mercies are new every morning. And that's something for those who struggle with getting up, or maybe like one of our callers, Mike, who didn't stay on the line, his comment was he has a little bit of depression in the morning. Sometimes people can just have that dread of facing the day, and just keep that passage in mind. It's, I think, Lamentations chapter 3, if I have that right. I have to look it up. But talks about God's mercies being new and fresh and delivered right to the inbox of our hearts every morning. So keep that in mind and be not afraid. Be not afraid to get up and take on the day. But I do have to add, Debbie, my days of jumping out of bed are over, long behind me. I have to step out of bed now. Yeah.
You have to slowly stretch and you can't just jump out of bed. Well, Jerry, that's interesting what you just said, because remember when you were a child and it was Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, do you remember just flying out of bed, to race to the Christmas
after
tree?
not sleeping most of the night.
Exactly. But shouldn't that be every day for us as Catholic Christians? I mean, think about it. Every day really is Christmas, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it. So we really should jump out of bed and be excited to take on the day. I think this is turning out to be a fascinating discussion. So let's see what Paula has to say in Winter Haven, Florida, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Paula. Welcome to Take Two.
Oh, good morning. Good afternoon.
Hi, Paula.
You're on.
Okay. I have always struggled with getting out of bed. My husband was able to jump out of bed before the alarm, and my body tingles, my mind is numb. I just can't seem to get going. I don't like it. I've been this way since I was a kid. I've even slept through alarms, and they finally shut off. I have slept through a home alarm, which is extremely loud, and didn't hear that. So I really have a hard time.
Paula, I don't know. This is just something that's on my heart here. And, Debbie and I are not trained in any sort of counseling or therapy or anything, but you said that this goes back to your childhood days. And I can actually relate to that a little bit because I had some, just some unfortunate circumstances in my family, where it wasn't always the healthiest family environment. And I remember as a kid, I had a horrible time getting it. My mother used to just almost have to, and I had long hair back then, so she almost had to grab me by, the hair and, yank me out of bed after coming to my bedroom several times to call on me. And she'd say, breakfast is ready, breakfast is cold, you're going to miss the bus. And I'd end up hitchhiking to school. And I look back and I think maybe it was because, there might be, maybe subconscious, but still some, mental or psychological reasons why, we didn't want to get up and face the day just because things were not going to be all that healthy or positive or whatever. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that or anything, but, maybe that could be part of the reason because these things can carry over with us into adulthood. So Paula, I don't know. I just felt, maybe the Lord put that on my heart to share with you for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, I will definitely have to think about, but my family was very loving and never heard any arguing and typical family. So I don't know. I don't know if it's me physically.
Right.
I seem to need a lot of sleep. I seem to need 8 hours of sleep. Many times I have to take a nap because I'm just so tired, and it could be mental exhaustion or something.
Right. Are you a night owl, Paula?
No.
Okay, so you go to bed early.
I try to get to bed by 10. That's ideal. Mostly it's about 10:30, quarter to 11.
Well, obviously
have my alarm set about 5:30.
Right. Okay. Well, obviously we're not, medical doctors or therapists or anything like that. But I will tell you, I used to sleep all the time. I slept all day long. I used to put my head down on the desk in Catholic school and I'd be sound asleep through classes and they'd have to come wake me up. And it wasn't until I got my thyroid checked that I realized that my thyroid, so a lot of times there's those things that are happening that are kind of subtle and we don't even realize it, but they control a lot of the, if we're going to get a restful sleep, if we, can rejuvenate and our bodies are healing. And if not, I just would encourage you to kind of explore that and make sure that it's not something physically related, but also too, if it is psychological, I would think this is just common sense. Okay. I would think that if you really paid attention and changed up the routine, maybe you could get yourself out of that cycle. And what I mean by that is do something different, like starting the coffee maker so you can smell the coffee, maybe waking up to music instead of the alarm, maybe doing exactly what we just said, praying a decade of the rosary, or having a prayer book right next to you to have a daily meditation as soon as you wake up so that you get yourself out of the cycle. Because sometimes I think as human beings, we get so stuck in the same routine. Excuse me. Jerry, you're going to have to take it. I'm sorry.
Well, I think I know where you were going with that. We
Yeah,
get so
go
stuck in the same routine that we just kind of feel like this is the way things are always going to be.
Right.
And just like you said, Debbie, by changing things up slightly, I love that was great stuff, Debbie, those suggestions. And I'm sure everybody listening out there is probably trying to scribble all of those down, but they can go back to the archive of the show if they didn't get those suggestions. But those were brilliant.
Oh, well, thank you. And Paula, forgive me. I'm in Arizona and we just got another alert on our phone that the air quality is not that good. So you can hear it in my throat. But I don't know if that could help you at all, Paula. What do you think about that?
I think the idea of saying a decade of the rosary would be very helpful. And I am looking for something to do through Lent, because mostly when I do something or give up something through Lent, it carries on.
Right.
And that would be very helpful, I think.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and keep us posted. We'd love to hear how you're journeying because we learn from one another, and that's what really helps us to grow spiritually. So thank you so much, Paula, for opening up and sharing with us. You're not alone. There's many of us like you, and I think we can all grow together. So thank you for that. Jerry, I have to thank you.
Paula. Have a blessed day.
I have to say something about Mother Angelica. I could listen to her all day long, every single day. She was hilarious. I mean, the things she would say she just came out with it, that spunk of hers and that Italian kind of way. I just love it. And EWTN has the radio classics. So if you love all the teachings and devotionals, it's 24/7 channel from EWTN, and it has the archives of Mother Angelica, Patrick Madrid, Father Benedict Rochelle, another great one I love to listen to, and more. So find them online at EWTNradio.net and on the EWTN app. So you can always catch Mother Angelica there. I love that, Jerry.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of other great stuff on that channel as well. And I would love to hear somebody, we talked about it a minute ago, moving the alarm away from your bed so that you have to get up and walk over to it. I have never had the discipline or the courage to do that. I have to admit, I've heard that suggestion many times. So if there's anybody who does that, maybe you feel like you need that space, that you need to get up and kind of get your body jarred a little bit and get it moving so that you don't roll over and go back to sleep. I'd love to hear from somebody who does that, because that would definitely inspire me.
Well, I need to tell you something. Many fights have broken out in my home because my husband sets the alarm and puts it in the kitchen. Okay? And
I was going to ask if Marty seems like a pretty disciplined riser.
He is, but he puts it in the kitchen. And I'm closer. I sleep closer to the door going into the kitchen. So when it goes off, guess who has to get up and turn off the alarm? Me. And so every single time I say, "Why did you put it in the kitchen?" And he goes, "Well, because I knew we'd get up and shut it off."
I knew you'd get up. Well, hey, and I love to, by the way, our phone number is 1-800-585-9396. Still time to get you on in this conversation about getting up in the morning, taking on the day, leaping right up, being happy, being praise-filled, or maybe a little bit slower. There's no right or wrong here. It's just we learn from each other. And I love the spot we heard. You mentioned Mother Angelica, Debbie, and she made that recommendation to, if you haven't been to confession for a long time, plan to go out and get some ice cream or a pizza or something afterwards. In other words, a little bit of a reward. And I love that concept. And maybe we could do the same thing with ourselves in the morning. If we're not a morning person, I mean, I've often said I hate getting up, but I love being up. But if maybe we could do that, maybe have some kind of a treat or a reward. You mentioned that cup of coffee, maybe that gourmet blend that we like or something. Create some positive, exciting reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Chocolate.
I
would jump out of bed. There you go. No, that's really good. Kind of like, I like how you said give a treat. Jerry, you're so hilarious because you just got your new dog, Duke, and so you're constantly talking about treats.
I know.
I know. And he's a good boy. Duke.
Well, he's listening to the show right now, and so he heard, his ears just perked up, I'm sure.
When you said treat?
Yeah.
Oh, bless his heart. Okay, Joanna, you're up next in Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Joanna. Welcome to Take Two. Hi.
Hi, Joanna. Joanna. There was
hello.
That. Who sang that song? Joanna. Maybe we'll have to go back to her. Maybe we'll try Dylan, who is in southern Indiana. Dylan, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. What are your thoughts on this?
Hi there. This is actually my first time calling, but I'm absolutely blessed to be calling. I am a full-time college student, and so I generally stay up very late at night, but I have a hard time getting up in the morning. But whenever I do get myself up in the morning, there's a little prayer that I like to say. I actually found it in an old prayer book I have. I actually recently purchased a prayer book that was printed in 1899. And the prayer, it says, as you're getting up and clothing yourself, you're putting your clothes on, say the prayer, "Oh my God, clothe me with the nuptial robe of charity, and grant that I may wear it pure and undefiled before thy judgment seat."
Wow.
Nice.
That is great. Dylan, I'm wondering, this is almost universal among college students because I've been there and Debbie's been there. Why do we as college students feel like we have to stay up late at night? Have you ever reflected on that, Dylan? Is it just, because, you got a lot of energy or there's stuff on TV or video games or your peers want to hang out? What do you think it is that college students stay up late and then morning comes around and we're like, oh man, why did I do that?
Well, I think it might be because a lot of people we're sitting down all day, so we have that energy that's kind of reserved for us. We're not really up getting any exercise, especially for me. I'm going to college for cybersecurity, so I'm sitting in front of a computer all day. So I don't have a whole lot of time to get up and kind of walk around, stretch out. So I think I just have a lot of that leftover energy at night. That and the stress of studying for a lot of certifications and things like that, just kind of that motivation that I have to succeed, I have to do this, and I just have a hard time sleeping at night because I'm trying to work on that stuff, and there's just not enough time in the day.
Right. Dylan, we're going to say a prayer and bless you and your studies. And you just sound like a brilliant young man. This is the mom in me, Dylan. Try if you can, make sure you at least get sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because that's when the deep sleep and the restorative sleep comes into play for your body. So 10 and 2, remember that. Okay. If you can do that. But,
all right, I will.
Yeah. Thank you. And go ahead. Go ahead,
and
Dylan.
Please pray for me. I'm also discerning a call to the priesthood.
Nice. Okay. We definitely will. You can count on the Take Two family for that. Everybody take two. Pray for Dylan and his discernment for the vocation to the priesthood. Jerry, that's music to your ears.
It really is, Dylan. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being a part of the program today. And for some reason, you're welcome. After listening to his take, Debbie, that last comment just doesn't surprise me. He just really, I hear in his voice someone who's just really kind of on a good path, got his head on straight, and he mentioned that prayer book that he has. Yeah. And so Dylan, you've got our prayers, brother, and just be open to that and whatever God is going to call you to. A couple of social media comments. Aaron from Buffalo sent a text in, which, by the way, you can text the letters EWTN to 55000. This is honesty, Debbie. Aaron from Buffalo says, I hit the snooze button for over an hour no matter what time I go to sleep. I'm always tired until 9 a.m. So, Aaron,
she'll be saying a lot of decades of the rosary.
Or he. It's Aaron. Aaron.
Oh, okay, Aaron. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, a lot of rosaries, Aaron. That'll be great.
On YouTube, Haas says, in the morning, he says, I Bible before food.
I Bible before food. I love that. I'm going to write that down. Who said that, Haas?
Haas, yeah. Michael says, I am not a morning person, and I have a built-in snooze button. Dave on YouTube says, if there is a need to jump up and get ready, then I get up immediately. Otherwise, I hit the snooze a few times. Sunday is the one day I get to sleep late because there's no school to prepare the kids for, and there are masses later in the morning than on weekdays. Those are some of the social media comments. People are weighing in on Facebook, too.
If we all take on that snooze button challenge, there's going to be a lot of rosaries said in the morning, Jerry. Look how the Lent's going to be changing already. How exciting is that? Okay, Joanna, can we go back to Joanna?
Yeah.
I think, she's ready in Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Joanna.
Name it. That's me. Hello.
Hi, Joanna.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm so happy to be on the phone. I'm calling to ask for prayers because I definitely have going to bed a problem. I have it way back from when I went to college and really had to work hard and stayed up very late every night. And even though I'm in my 70s, I still cannot change it. And I've been praying constantly, and I'm hoping by calling you that I will receive prayers, and that's why I'm calling for prayers that will change. Every morning I think this, especially this morning, I was thinking it before I turned on your show on 1060 in Massachusetts, and
right.
And that's why I'm asking for prayers that it could change, because it does make a difference in your day when you're walking with God and the things that you have to do.
Okay, well, you can count on our prayers, Joanna, but just a little suggestion, if I may. Have you thought about incorporating the Gregorian chant? And the reason why I say that is because it's very calming. It actually is it just gets the body very relaxed. I mean, you have to be intentional about it. So you have to, determine when you're going to go to bed and maybe put in the CD of the Gregorian chant, and just for like 5 or 10 minutes, just let it just, fill the bedroom with the beautiful sounds, and see if that helps. Because again, changing that pattern that we're in can make all the difference in the world. What do you think, Jerry? Have you ever fallen asleep with Gregorian chant? I have. It's fabulous.
Yeah, I've tried many things. I've tried, white noise. There are a lot of apps on our phones, which is kind of how I keep track of time and wake up and so forth, Joanna. So I love that suggestion by Debbie. Maybe just something, whether it's a Gregorian chant, or I found some apps on my phone that have different sounds like rain, a little light rain falling, or one that I really love is the ocean, like the ocean waves. And I don't know, Joanna, what do you think about something like that? Would that be of help?
I sure will try it. Is there any particular Gregorian chant that you like?
Yes, but I don't have the name of it. If you can email me, I will give you the exact. I'll take a picture of the one I use. It's fabulous. My husband got it at a Catholic fair, and I love it. Just email us take2 at EWTN.com. And better yet, I'm going to post it. Yeah, I'm going to post it on take2show.com because I know I'm going to get a lot of emails saying, can you pass on the Gregorian chant? But if you want to email us, it's take2 at EWTN.com. But I'll also post it online as well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. 1-800-585-9396. We will get to as many of you as we can. From Joanna to another name similarly derived. Let's go to John in St. Joseph, Missouri, listening on KEXS. We're going to go to John on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello, John.
Hi, Jerry.
Howdy.
I tell you what, the way I get up in the morning, I don't trust the snooze button. I'm afraid that if I push it once, I'll lose count of how many times I pushed it. So I use a modified version of putting it across the room. I put it about 3 feet from the bed on the floor, and I either have to lean way out of the bed in order to turn it off, either that or get my feet on the floor and reach out with a toe and turn it off.
So you haven't employed a broomstick or anything yet?
Well, no. The bedroom's too dark for that. I wouldn't be able to see the buttons. I can see the display, but not the buttons.
Oh my goodness, John! All I would be thinking is I'm going to need to have a chiropractor's appointment after that one. I'd probably stretch too far, and then I couldn't get out of bed at all.
Right. And then once I get it shut off, I want to get it shut off before it runs too long because I get up way before my wife does. She's retired and I'm not, so I don't want it to wake her up. So that's another incentive to get that thing shut off, and then can get right into my morning offering.
Nice.
Well, that's great, John. Yeah, you have that purposeful, anticipation, if you will, of prayer and that morning offering, like you said. So thank you, John, for joining us here on the program. We're very grateful for your listenership.
Hey, I have a suggestion for Joanna for music.
Sure.
Anything? Any of the CDs at all by the Benedictines of Mary. Benedictinesofmary.org.
Okay.
Benedictinesofmary.org.
It's the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of Apostles. They've been at the top of the charts on Billboard for classical and traditional music. They were there at the top of the charts for 3 years in a row. Their music is really, really heavenly. It's not all Gregorian chant, but all of it is very, very peaceful and beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what's fascinated me, and maybe it shouldn't because the world is starving for beauty and doesn't really know it, but Debbie, as you may recall, there have been some monks who have done chant CDs and these sisters as well. And like John said, these have risen to the top of the Billboard charts because people, this is resonating in people's hearts and connecting with them on a level of beauty that we just don't get enough of in the world today. So it's a great suggestion. Yeah. Thank you, John, so much.
Thank you, John. Wow.
I want to mention quickly Diana on Facebook. Let's pray for Diana. She says, I have a 3-year-old who is autistic. As much as I want to get up early, I can't because he can't sleep good sometimes. This is the 3rd night this week. He wakes up and stays up for 3 to 4 hours. This is killing me, and I have to work. So let's pray for Diana and her autistic son. And Adela, thank you for your take as well. Adela, when her son goes to bed, she stays up till about 11 praying the rosary. Awesome.
Nice.
Adelia,
nice.
Sorry about that.
Adelia, okay. Well, thanks, guys. You did a great job. Take on that Lenten challenge, and when you hit the snooze button, say a decade of the rosary.
And sorry, when I get to the others of you on the line, the phones are still packed. Sorry about that.
So sorry. But tomorrow we're talking about managing your teenagers. It's going to be another great show. Thanks to you. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day.